Welcome back to Success as a System. I'm Mike Greene. You know I've interviewed Charlie before. We talked about Charlie's life. We talked about the inspiration of his career, building his business, exiting his business, and the passion he's got to go again. This episode is all about apprenticeship, and it's about no apprentice, no future, the importance of teaching people they don't have to go to university to be successful. Don't miss this episode.
Don't worry too much about the university route, and there's life without a degree, and any sort of qualification in apprenticeship will be the same value, if not more, than any degree you can get out of it.
And when you look to a lot of the skills that those apprentices got, whether it's a heating engineer, electrical engineer, a bricklayer, a carpenter and so on, those skills haven't been, and I can't imagine can easily be, overcome by AI or technology.
I've said for a long time, the last year or two at school, if you're not that academic, they should start bringing skills in where you go out and work for companies and even doing the schools up kind of thing, even that type of thing. And I feel that more youngsters, as you say, wouldn't think they've failed, they actually think they've succeeded.
We're spending 30 grand a year anyway to them that go to university.
Yeah, you're spending it anyhow, but there'll be a massive saving out there for the government because it'll cut down crime on the street, rehabilitation, the massive skill shortage it will cut down, and it'll give youngsters a future. So I feel that the right person in there and with the right help from people like me, they can crack the system, and youngsters will have a future.
So, firstly, Charlie, where did your passion for apprenticeships come from?
I came from, when I was at school, I used to bunk off school and help a local plumber when I was about 9 or 10. And, he had a motorbike, car, jewellery, lovely house, loads of money. And, the sort of seeds were sown then, just by the knowing what he'd got out of being an apprentice and a plumber was just, mind-blowing at the time.
And when you started that job, what was school like? Did you enjoy school, the academic stuff?
No, look, I was never that academic, and it was never appealed to me as school at all. I mean, I always say that, I left at 15, and it was a big mistake. I should have left at 14. I was always going to be a plumber. And, as soon as I left school at 15, done my 4-year apprenticeship, I suppose the term is I've never looked back, if I'm being honest. And many apprentices are the same. They do an apprenticeship, they go on to have their own business, and you're going to succeed in life. And all them years ago, Bill Ellis, the chap that I sort of learned wanting to be an apprentice plumber in, he said to me then that, if you're an apprentice tradesman, you'll never be out of work and you'll earn loads of money. And he's right.
Well, and here we look years forward, and what we've seen is it's given you ability. I know we don't always want to talk about money, but you sold that business for 146 million.
That's correct, something right about that.
And yet, when we're in school, and I remember my meeting with my careers officer, they sort of say, if you do well in your exams and you go on to university, then you can become successful. And I'm sure it's not intentionally, but the way that they couch it often, they're sort of saying, if you don't go to university, you're not going to be as good. You're not going to be as successful. And we have a danger now, and I think it started with Tony Blair in 1997, when he was talking about his ambitions to get 50% of kids from school at university. And since then, it's kind of been built on to make anyone who hasn't got aspiration or ability to go to university to feel that they're somewhat a failure.
Well, that's right. I mean, look, you said it's not intentionally by the teachers, but I believe it is because they've been to university. That's all they know. That's all they promote. And, I think as anything other than university, you're looked on as a failure, as you say. But things have changed, and now I think that we need to promote it more. The university isn't what it used to be. And I think any apprenticeship qualification as good as any degree. So it is done intentionally, and unfortunately, I don't think the governments have managed to get hold of it to get the figures up on apprentices. But at one time I was working with David Cameron and George Osborne, and we was flying on the apprenticeship scheme, absolutely flying. And I don't think it'd take too much to get it back on track, if I'm being honest. We've just got to promote it more, and maybe people like me and many other successful apprentices, if that's what appealed to me by looking at what someone achieved out of it, and I'm happy to show where it's got me today. And as you say, this apartment is a £10 million apartment, and life couldn't be any better.
No, and and you still got all that energy, you still got all that passion. And if we go back again and we roll forward from where they were when they were saying more people at university, giving the impression you've got to go to university to be successful, they have so much demonized trades or retail or hospitality to the extent that now, with both Labour and the Tories have said whoever gets in next year, they're going to build 1.5 million houses. Well, that is impossible. But part of the reason it's impossible is we're 1 million people short of what we'd need in trades to do that.
Yeah.
We'd need 1 million apprentices.
Yeah, well, look, again, I think you are right. It's impossible to build that amount in the term that they're going to be in, whether it be Conservatives or Labour. But their thoughts are good. But if they want to make it happen, they need to listen to people that have done an apprenticeship, that have been successful by it. And I say it's a simple system for me. You know, at the time I was saying to Cameron that, you know, what we need to do is turn the job benefit system into like a job allowance. Give it to the employer, takes on a youngster, puts it towards his apprenticeship pay, and, you know, double the apprenticeship pay. And I think if we started at school level, then, you know, 5 to 10 years, I think we could achieve that figure. But, you know, we've got to get the ball rolling, and the quicker they sort of understand that, you know, there's life without a degree, let's put it like that.
There is. And part of the problem, I think, because I mentor a bunch of trades as well, is just how complicated it is. They've got to make it easy, haven't they?
Of course, I mean, look, there's nothing simpler than, you know, literally just, you know, signing up for your sort of contract and apprenticeship, whether it be 3 or 4 years, and increase the pay on it. And you know, if it's government funded, then I think the government will they make fortunes out of it, and they'll save fortunes, I should say. There'll be, you know, less crime on the street, less rehabilitation, there'll be loads of tradesmen out there, youngsters will have a future. I mean, it's one word that will solve so many problems, it's called apprenticeships.
No, I completely agree, and I like the strapline that you were talking about earlier, no apprentices, no future.
Well, that's exactly it, and things have got worse. I'd like to think it's rock bottom at the moment, but somebody just needs to get hold of the idea that you've got, and many apprentices, they know the value of it. I've never met an apprentice yet that says he regretted doing it. And I know some successful people, but I never hear anybody say, that's the worst thing I've done. For me, it was the best thing I've done ever in my life. And God knows where I'll be now if I didn't do an apprenticeship.
And when you look to a lot of the skills that those apprentices got, whether it's a heating engineer, electrical engineer, a bricklayer, a carpenter, and so on, those skills haven't been, and I can't imagine can easily be, overcome by AI or technology. You know, AI can probably half a journalist's job, can change some tech roles, but it isn't going to be weaving plumbing and pipes through a ceiling or under a floor. Or, you know, that's going to need a person for a long time to come.
That's right. Look, as you said, they want to build 1 million houses, and I mean, you know, there's a massive shortage of skilled tradesmen at the moment, especially with the EU situation and the apprenticeship thing. So, you know, you're guaranteed, you know, you'll have a job for life and you'll earn loads of money. And it's just getting that point across. And, you know, I'm happy to show where I've got through it. And many people, same as me, have done so well by the apprenticeship thing. Then they go on to open their own business. They become self-employed. And hopefully they employ people. You just got to get that apprenticeship thing up and running. And I keep saying it, I don't think it's such a big deal to put in place. I really feel they've just got to, you know, forget this sort of university route. If you're going to be an accountant or finance or a doctor or a scientist or something, go to university. But if you want to be a good skilled tradesman, then the answer is an apprenticeship.
So here we are. We know in the next 12 months we're going to have a general election. Now, whether the Tories stay in, which everyone says is unlikely, or whether Labour come in, it's the same. They're both committed to 1.5 million houses in 5 years, 300,000 a year. And yet I can't believe that one of them hasn't rang you as someone who's an ambassador of trades, who's built big business, who's scaled business, who's had apprentices, who's been an apprentice. You know, if with that camera there, if you were talking to Rishi Sunak or Keir Starmer, what would you be saying now? Because you've said you'll be willing to help them put something together, wouldn't you?
Well, that's right. Look, I think they're aware of it, and I just think they've just got to get used to the idea that university ain't the way forward. And, you know, if they want a vote winner, then just do government-funded apprenticeships, because so many youngsters want to do an apprenticeship, so many youngsters want to get in the workplace, and I think it'd be a vote winner. But you're right. I mean, you know, I'll happily do it free. You know, I don't need the dosh, that's for sure. But, you know, I want to sort of keep inspiring people to do an apprenticeship, because I honestly feel it's the way forward. And, you know, if you think sort of plumbers are expensive now, just wait for another 2 or 3 years with the skills shortage. You're pretty much guaranteed to never be out of work and earn loads of money. And what more do you want, kind of thing?
Well, I was looking at some of the government's own figures a bit earlier. There's 144 vacancies in construction alone. 144,000 vacancies in construction. There's 1.1 million vacancies generally in employment, and yet we got 1.4 million unemployed in the UK.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is either people are thinking they're not qualified, are thinking they can't do it. Maybe they can't do it, but there is an opportunity for apprenticeships to learn on the job, in the job, earn while you learn. Because part of the other problem, when I did all right at school, even though it was a pretty terrible school, and they said I could have gone to university. Part of the reason I couldn't go to university is I had to be giving my mum money. We couldn't afford to live. Literally putting food on the table, and it was part of my responsibility. I had to go out and work to contribute. Well, if I'd have thought about apprenticeships, I got into retail, which was to sort of earn while you learn as well. But apprenticeships are really good at people who perhaps can't be looked after by parents or funded by parents for another.
Well, of course, but
3 or 4 years.
it's also a great job even if your parents are looking after you. I mean, I don't think you need to separate it, but
Right.
But in the same token, it's an amazing job, and you'll get any good apprentice plumber in London will earn as much as any bank manager. That's for sure. I think it's just a case of coming away from this old-fashioned idea about the apprenticeship and get real with it. Look at where the shortages are. Look at where
Demand is.
you can earn good money these days, and they'll have a job for life. I mean, I was told this 50, 60 odd years ago. That I would
And it's
never
still
be
true
able to-
today.
Well, it's more true today than ever. It's more so today than ever, because I think years ago a tradesman was looked down on. I mean, you used to go to certain houses, they have a sign up saying tradesman go round the back. Now when you go there, they're like waiting at the door, like cup of tea.
Because they've been waiting 2 weeks for it to get one.
Yeah, but so things have changed a lot. I just feel that the government needs to just liven up a bit, listen to people like me. There's many successful apprentices in the country. Well, for me, anybody that does an apprenticeship is going to be successful, because you're tied in for a certain amount of time. That stops you shopping around, and the end result is you're a tradesman, you're in demand, you're going to earn loads of money, you'll have a job that you enjoy. I just feel that we've just got to forget this university nonsense. You're running up debt. This way you're earning while you're learning. It's definitely the way forward. And look, I think I was helping with Cameron when they was in, and it was really going well actually. And I think you never know. If he got back in, I'd be in Downing Street sorting out.
And since then, every year we've built less homes.
Yes,
we're setting targets to build 300,000 every year for 5 years. They set their own target, and yet the last time any government of either party hit their targets was 1977, 46 years ago. They set the targets and they can't hit the targets. So unless they get real about creating the jobs that are going to build the homes and making the planning system earlier, it's just not going to happen.
You're certainly right there, but I'm saying it's a problem that can be resolved. And I'm saying someone like me or a few ex-apprentices that have run their own business, been successful, you just need us, our help and advice to just say, this is how we do it. But the way it'll work is government-funded apprenticeships.
No, I completely agree, and I think it's a key point that they need to get people like you that have been there, seen it, done it, built it, know what the challenges are, and so on. Because, and I had a podcast that's going out tomorrow actually with a super head of a school, and she said part of the problem is in government we got an education minister that's never been a teacher, don't know anything about teaching. If government are going to do these things, they need to be speaking to the people who really understand that sector, don't they?
Yeah, well, it's obvious. I mean, that's exactly it. You're so right there, but it's not as difficult as it seems. I mean, if we started it now from school level, then 4 or 5 years from now we'd have so many tradesmen, and they've got to double apprenticeship pay, and they've got to make it funded by the government, and they've got to sort of support the apprenticeship idea more and not look down on it. I know many people regret not doing an apprenticeship. I know many people went to university and they're not doing so well these days.
Well, and I think I'm conscious that, as you were saying about we should double the apprenticeship, we should make it fully funded, and I completely agree. But some people listening to this will say, oh, it's going to cost more money. But we were talking earlier, it's costing us about 30 grand a year, at least for a student to go to university. It's the 9 grand fees, it's the living fees that they get on the loan that they may or may not pay back. It's the funding that goes to the university, the cost of the teachers at university, and so on. So we're spending 30 grand a year anyway to them that go to university.
Yeah, you're spending it anyhow, but there'd be a massive saving out there for the government, because it'll cut down crime on the street, rehabilitation. the massive skill shortage it will cut down, and it'll give youngsters a future. So look, you know, it's a money maker anyhow, but it's so needed today more than ever, and it's just a case of government listening and putting into practice. Honestly, I tell you what, if I was involved with the government on this and a few other sort of ex-apprentices, then I think within a year you'd have a lovely system going. And so when you leave school, you've either university, got a job, or go into a government-funded apprenticeship scheme, and
then everyone's got a place to go.
It's so obvious to people like me, and I'm sure it's obvious to people like you. And I think, you know, even the universities are starting to realise that they're struggling to get people in there now because of the cost, because of the debt, and all they're interested is bums on seats. And we have a massive skill shortage out there. And, you know, if I was advising anybody, just do an apprenticeship in anything at all, long as you've got this apprenticeship, and at the end of it, that certification will keep you in work forever.
And I completely agree. And one of the things you said a few minutes ago was it's really important to keep it simple, and it doesn't need to be complicated, and it could be quite easy. And I completely agree, because I was looking through some of the numbers. There's 300,000 trades at the moment. Now, when I was growing up, I used to help a builder as well. He was a general builder, so we'd be doing roofs, we'd be doing decorating, we'd do all sorts. But he always had an apprentice and an assistant, and so on. Often the assistant was younger, but then once they were old enough, they became the apprentice, and so on. And if there's 300 trades out there, and they all got an apprentice, and it was easy for them to get an apprentice, and they were funded to get an apprentice, their business grows, but also suddenly you could argue that we'd have hundreds of thousands every year really quickly.
Yeah, no, you're right. As I say, it's not something that can't be done. If we're short of 1 million tradesmen, then
that's the way to go.
You know, it honestly is something that you know, I just wish the government would listen more. And you know, they know. I mean, they know. I mean, it's fairly obvious that you know, they know what's going on, because so many people that go to university, you know, they don't get the job they want. They're not earning while they're learning. They get themselves in debt, and you know, I spoke to quite a few that regret it. They actually regret it. But of course, there's always going to be a mixture. But I just think the balance at the moment is you know, 90% is you're pushed towards university, and it's because the teachers they've never done the apprenticeship idea of it, and you know, whether it be me or many so many people I know that have been successful through an apprenticeship. I really
And the other reason is some people just don't have the wherewithal or the behavioural match to go to university. Because if I look at the trades that I mentor, and I mentor 46 businesses, about 30 of them are trades. Now, of those, many of them, I don't like labels, but they are ADHD or dyslexic or something like this. So that meant that they didn't do as well as they could have at school. I don't think they failed. I think school failed them, because it should have taught them differently and understood they needed to learn differently. But whatever it was, they get to the end of schooling having not enjoyed the experience, because they learnt differently. They had to, they then didn't do the results that they want, so they weren't going to go to uni. But now they're told if they don't go to uni, they're somehow not successful. But if we could say, well, go into trades, that's where the apprenticeship opportunity is. And I'll often say to trades, you didn't fail at school, school failed you. The fact I know that, and it's not just blowing smoke up their arse, it's the fact is, in 3 years or 4 years, they went on, they become a qualified engineer.
Exactly.
Electrical, plumbing, heating, bricklaying and so on. So they certainly can learn, and they can pass these exams, but it needs to be taught in a more on-the-job, manual, physical kind of way.
I've said for a long time, the last year or two at school, if you're not that academic, they should start bringing skills in where you go out and work for companies, and even doing the schools up kind of thing, even that type of thing. And I feel that more youngsters, as you say, wouldn't think they've failed. They actually think they've succeeded. And you know, my opportunity was really given to me just on the basis of helping a plumber and seeing what he achieved in his life. And that just blew me away with it. And I think now we just need to promote that more and more, of that you're not a failure. I mean, I think you know, the best thing, I mean, I'm glad I didn't have brains, because I wouldn't be sitting here now.
No, because if you'd gone to university, you'd have got what's called a good job and earn 70, 80 grand or whatever.
Yeah, you know, look, I'm you know, I can assure anyone. I mean, if you want to be a millionaire, become a tradesman, do an apprenticeship. That's what I would say to people.
Yeah.
And that's probably reaching the peak of it, but you're never going to be able to work, never going to be out of work. You're going to earn loads of money, and you're going to be in so much demand.
Yeah,
and
I
I think it's enjoyable if you're not that academic.
And it's easy to talk the talk. You've not just talked the talk, you've walked the walk already to a massive scale that most people would only aspire to. But you've still got loads of passion, loads of energy, loads of ambition. You're going again next year.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to open up another plumbing and heating company called WeFix Team, and that's going to be launched in September. And we'll have apprentices in every trade.
But it's not just plumbing and heating,
no? No, it'd be roofing, carpentry, anything that's got a skill like that's on the building side of things. We'll be doing, and we'll definitely go for the apprenticeship idea. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if we could get help with the government, great. But it's something I can't turn down, getting apprentices or youngsters into work as an apprenticeship, because I know the value of it.
And this conversation, to me, timing is perfect. Not just because we're going to have a change of government, whether it's a new Tory government or whether it's a new Labour government, we're going to have a change. That's going to be in the next year. A lot of people are saying they think May, June. But the latest it can be, I think, is December next year.
Yeah.
If that ties in with you starting the business, you're already intent on starting with apprentices, and you could be creating an immediate opportunity,
no doubt
and help them bed that scheme in, test that scheme, work with that scheme.
Yeah, look, we must bring it into place, and I think it's people like myself and many other people that see the value of the apprenticeship, and I'll be starting that straight. I've already got names now of youngsters that want to join us, and a lot of these youngsters want to go to work, they want to get a skill, they want to get a job. It's just a case of like coordinating it all together, collaborating all together with the government and getting a bit more help off them. And it really is a lot simpler than what people think, as far as, once you've got the scheme rolling, I mean, it would just, generate and generate, then they become part of society.
And it does need to be simple, and because when I speak to a lot of trades or general businesses now, they say the apprenticeship scheme is just too complicated. It's complicated, and the hoops and barriers are bigger than the benefits at the moment. So it needs to be simplified.
Yeah, well, they've got it wrong, as I say. Unfortunately, they have got it wrong. But it is simple. Government funded apprenticeship straight from school. Double the apprenticeship's money. Put the job benefit money to a job allowance. Give it to the employer. And that will help to make the wages up. And knowing, I think the important thing is knowing after 3 years where you'll be. You'll have a job for life. You'll earn loads of money. You'll be in demand. And, it's a great business to be in,
And I think one of the reasons why some youngsters may not look at a trade, partly government are saying you've got to go to university, or schools are encouraging them. The other reason, I think, is they might watch Dragon's Den or these other things where I want to build a business, I want to build a big business, and somehow they tend to think, I don't want to just be a plumber, just be an electrician. But you have shown that you can start at that.
Yeah. That's
just the foundation. You can build up. And so one of the things I've talked about before is what I call the 99.2. 99.2% of all businesses in the UK, 5.5 million, they have less than 50 employees. 4.4 million have 0 employees. They are a dentist, a plumber, a videographer, an individual person with a skill, but they don't learn the lessons to go from technician, if you like, to manager to entrepreneur. Yeah. And so part of that, I mean, two sides to it really. One, what gave you the confidence and courage to scale, to employ that first person, to deal with employees? Because we know that's not necessarily easy. But two, did you just kind of do it almost by mistake, or were you conscious, I've learned how to do the tools, now I need to learn how to do the business?
Unlock your path to success with Success is a System, the podcast that guides you through proven strategies and expert insights. Join us every fortnight as we break down the systems behind success. Subscribe now for your fortnightly dose of inspiration and practical tips. Success is not just a dream, it's a system. Tune in and transform your journey. Visit www.mikegreene.co.uk for more info. Success is a system where dreams meet strategy.
Look, I was conscious of it. I mean, it was pointed out to me, a long time ago that you can be a successful plumber or a successful tradesman, and you'll do very well out of it. But if you really want to hit big time, you have to employ people. And, it's a double sort of edged sword, really, because the worst thing in business is employing people. It's also the best thing.
Yeah.
And, to go forward, I don't know many people that become super rich or super successful unless you employ people. And it's not a big deal. People want to go to work. They want to go to work. And, I think we was employing about 450 people at the end. We've had 1,500 apprentices go through our books, and I can assure you, them guys are out there now doing very well with life. So it is a change from a tradesman, but we've all got capabilities, kind of thing, and I think we've just got to believe in ourselves more. If I'm being honest, I think the apprenticeship side of it, there's a theory side to it, and that just learns you to deal with people and it's all about your own drive and ambition. Yeah, and I think that's what we need to put back into young.
But I think there's also, I think last time we spoke when we did the podcast before, you were talking about the recognition of the fact that you don't have to be good at the finances. You can employ someone to do that. You don't have to be good at PR. You can employ someone to do that. So recognising this is the bit I bring to the business. And if I'm not confident, or if I don't enjoy, or whatever it is, I might have a skill gap. I don't have to worry about that. I can employ someone to do
That's
that.
right. I mean, look, you can't do everything. None of us are good at everything. And, for sure I was good at doing plumbing, and for sure I'm good at running a business. And that's something you just learn. I think you get educated in the workplace. And, I think if you're treating people fair and you're giving them good money and working conditions are good, I mean, it's just a remedy for success. I mean, I do, as you said, we complicate it so much, There's lots and lots of people that want to go to work, and it's just like simplifying it, get rid of all the busybodies like butting in and that, and just, you come to work, you get paid, you learn a trade, you'll go on and be successful. And yes, employing isn't easy, but in the same token, I believe it's the way forward. I mean, a lot of people ask me, give me one business advice that I can scale up or I can do better. I say it's dead simple. Employ people. You can employ accountants, you can employ, recruitment, HR, PR. These people are out there, and it's just a matter of collaborating something together and growing with it.
And a lot of trades, they're scared of employing people, so they try to grow by getting subcontractors and so on. But the problem is often that those subbies aren't necessarily committed, and they might, the minute they get offered 10 quid a day more, 20 quid a day more, they could go off, or they want to build their own business. So I think it's not a real commitment, and arguably you can't scale it fully until you can have some subbies, but you need to employ some.
Yeah, I mean, when Pimlico started employing people, I had people there for 20, 30 years, 10 years, 5 years, A lot of people are happy to work for a good company, as long as they're being well rewarded and looked after. And, that's the way forward. I mean, it's not as complicated as it sounds, because people want to go to work. They want to do well in life. And I just feel the foundation today is doing an apprenticeship. I mean, if I had somebody coming in for a job, not necessarily as a tradesman or office and that, and they said, I've been university, I've been apprentice, I've been working in the workplace, that person will get the job rather than walking in with a degree, because they've been in the workplace, they understand it, and it's all about your attitude, really. And I just think if people could only realise what that's going to, doing an apprenticeship will set you up for life, no matter what it's in. If that's what you want to do, and you do that apprenticeship, 4 years down the line, you'll be. You're just amazing of what it can lead to, and I just think we've got to promote that.
And I think that work experience is a key as well, because I put a post out the other day, sort of saying qualifications are one thing, but one of the key qualifications I look for is, have they got any work experience? Right. Have they got a work ethic? Are they used to getting up in the morning and so on? And it is a concern that some people might have been to uni and they've never actually had any accountability, responsibility, routine that you want to know they've got when you're going to take them
that's
on.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. But I don't go by degrees. I go by enthusiasm and what they want to achieve out of life. And a lot of the university ones, unfortunately, they think they're going to walk into a company and hit the top straight away. And it just doesn't work like that. No. But there's no substitute for experience. And I would say, any school leaver, if they're on your last year, you can work with people, go in the workplace. That's gonna, that's certainly what got me where I've got today by going to work and helping this plumber. And I just think we've got to get real now and realise that there's life without a degree.
No, I completely agree. And one of the other things I would say is that some people we want to encourage into doing apprenticeships. We want to make that attractive from a salary point of view. We want to make it simple for the business to take on apprentices, and we want to make it motivated towards the jobs that they can do in the future. But I think part of the challenge is, and I'd be interested in your views on it, is we've got 1.4 million people unemployed, and we got 1.1 million jobs available.
yeah.
Some of it is a skill gap, and that the people aren't there for the skills or jobs that we need. But some of it is, do you think we make it too easy or comfortable for people to not work?
Of course we do. I mean, the benefit system, the handout that we give to people, I mean, it's just so wrong. And you're right, sometimes the pay isn't high enough and, can get these benefits that, more or less match it. So people go for it. But that's a simple system. I would have, you can only be unemployed for 3 months, and then you've got to go work for 3 months before you can go back as unemployed. And these people, if you didn't give them money to lie in bed all day, they would get up and go to work. We've just got to change the system. And look, I feel sorry for the people that genuinely have to be on benefits and can't get a genuinely job. But I think anybody that's capable of working should go to work.
And I think that's the distinction, isn't it? Because I'll often say, all of us would happily pay for those who can't work or are unable to work, but it's the ones that can work and won't work we don't want to be covering.
That's exactly it. But time. I think it's good. The benefits system is gone on, and people are just milking it for what they can. And I think we just need to be strong enough as a government and stand up and say, you're only allowed on it for 3 months, and then you must go to the workplace for 3 months.
Well, we're not going to give you anything.
Yeah. Well, I actually think that a lot of people are scared of the workplace that have never been there. They're watching their mums and dads working from home or dossing about from home, and they fear the workplace. But believe me, I mean, when you go in the workplace, you just change as a person. You become part of society, and you start realising you can have these nice holidays and nice things, but you're never going to get that on benefits. That's for sure. And I think it's just a matter of convincing the youngsters that. You don't want to be on benefits. You don't need to go to university. All you need to do is get an apprenticeship, and you're guaranteed, like you will never be out of work, and you will earn loads of money.
No, I agree. One of the things that people often say is, I'm just not motivated. And I'll often talk, and I had a bit of a session this morning with a team at 9, and I was talking about motivation. Motivation to me, break that word down. What does it mean? It's your motive for action. Why do you do what you do, and what will make you want to do more of it? And I was saying about the fact that I believe that 60-70% of motivation can be negative. It's like you're doing something because you're pushed away by your fears or you're pulled by your dreams. Yeah. It's the mixture of the two. And I think in that, encapsulating what we've just been talking about, I think we should make it less comfortable and attractive for people to sit at home and do bugger all. But there are those who are on the absolute minimum wages. And I still remember my daughter, she'd done a summer job at Starbucks, and she said, Dad, the saddest thing for me is there are full-time workers there that are working really hard, and they're really good customer service, and they're expert at making all the different coffees, and it's an art sort of thing. Yeah. And she said, but even working full-time, they're having to sofa surf. They can't afford to live or get even a 1-bedroom flat on their own. And I think to me, it's like we need to, if the gap's only this at the moment, it's too easy to say, sod it, I might as well go on benefits because I'm going to get, as opposed to saying, if you're on benefits, you're going to get even less. Well, but if you are trying to work, we're going to make sure you've got a livable wage, a living wage.
But I think that, the minimum wage, I've never worked on minimum wage or put anybody on that. I'm a great believer in rewarding people for coming to work. And, we just need to change things around and maybe listen to more people that have run a business or listen to people that have done an apprenticeship. And, I don't believe, in underpaying people, I'll be honest with you. And you just got to make it more attractive. Yeah, but rightly, as you say, we've got to stop, change the benefit system. And I say, I'll go back to what I said, 3 months on, and then you've got to go to work. And if you don't go, then you don't get the benefit system.
No, I agree. And I mean, you can't talk about life or business or success without weaving in and out of politics. But one of the things that frustrates me is I'll often hear politicians from all sides saying stuff like, oh, the conversations I have with people or business people are telling me, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I interact with a lot of politicians. They're not in their constituency more than about 1 day a week. They do a surgery on a Friday. They're mostly in London. They're here, but most of the ones coming from Peterborough or Stamford or wherever, they're in London all bloody week. They come home for 1 day a week, and then they are doing surgeries. But often those surgeries are the extremes. They're someone who's got a complaint or someone they want to press the flesh with and build towards getting some money for their next campaign. They're not looking at who's the best person for me to speak to learn about what's needed in the area, who's the successful person to speak to, who can I speak to that will be blunt and honest and tell me it rather than blow smoke up my arse because I'm an MP. And I do think that used to be there naturally, I think, because a lot of politicians had a job before. When I was sort of 20 odd, most of them had done a job of some kind, then became a politician. Whereas now the danger is they study politics, they become a political aide, they become a councillor or a junior support to an MP, and then they become an MP. They've never really understood the kind of things you're talking about, and yet they're not knocking on your door. You'd expect, and you said it last time, I'll talk to them, I'll help them for free, I'll do this. You'd think they'd be knocking your bloody door down, wouldn't you?
It's that snobbery thing and the old-fashioned idea of, they come from money and they've been looked after. But if that's to work for a living, then they would understand, the value of getting youngsters into work, But, I think things are changing. I've noticed that as much as, we're not necessarily got hold of the apprenticeship thing, a lot of people are now talking about it.
Bubbling under, yeah.
In other words, they understand that, that's the way forward. And, it's just that, look, put it like this, if Cameron was to get back in, then I'm pretty certain I'll be working with him on apprentices. And I lay all my money down that I could make it happen. I just know I can, because the end result of your apprenticeship is amazing. It's like winning the lottery. If you can explain to people that in 3 years' time you're going to be earning 100 grand, plumbers with me were earning 200 grand a year.
Yeah.
And I'm not university.
Well, and I mentor and work with some that are at that level, some that are turning over millions of pounds.
That's exactly it.
They've got a life they could only dream of, but they didn't have to go to university for it either.
Well, that's right, but it's hard to, I could see it with the guy that taught me. I could see what he achieved in his life, or in that time he was teaching me, and he was way above anybody else in the area, with what he had and, the type of style of life he had. And I just think we've got to promote that more, and there's nothing wrong with, wanting to better your life and wanting nice things in life. And that's what drove me on, wanting to, I think I just wanted, at one time you just want a car, you want holidays, you want the money, and then all of a sudden it gets rolling and you think, my God, this is just amazing. But trying to get that message across. But for me, the best bit of advice I'd give to any youngster is sign up and do an apprenticeship with a skill, and you never look back.
Well, and I think your the strapline we talked about earlier, no apprentice is no future. The reverse of that is true, that if we grow apprentices, we get a better future, isn't it? And the country needs it. It's not like it's some kind of whim of somebody's. We know there's 1 million needed in construction alone, let alone hospitality, retail, medical, and so on and so forth. So, listen, I really appreciate it. I'd love to keep this conversation going and look at different areas about it, and maybe if government aren't going to listen, we should start banging that baton ourselves and getting other businesses involved and make them listen. They should want to listen, but if they won't...
You're exactly right there, look. But I get a feeling they're going to start listening. I really think they are, because, it's become so obvious, and the massive skill shortage, and, the university thing, I think, is an old-fashioned idea now, and more people are wising up on it. And they should try the system for to kick off, and I don't think they'll look back. So I think they will be listening, but let's hope that, I do hope the Conservatives get back in, because I think, they're definitely more for business than Labour people. Yeah. And, I feel that the right person in there, and with the right help from people like me, they can crack the system, and, youngsters will have a future.
Well, and likewise, anyone who's built business sees the Tories as the party of business. But if, as predicted, they don't, you'll work with anyone. Is that right?
Well, look, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I couldn't care less. Like I say, I couldn't care less who's in. All of my interest is getting people leaving school, going into apprenticeship, and I feel if we do that, if you said there's a million sort of tradesmen going to be needed, then it's screaming out for it. Yeah.
No, it's tradesmen alone. Without 1 million in retail, 1 million in. Yeah, well, I mean, it's just. It's got to come.
I think it's a no-brainer, and I just feel we've got to stop complicating it and start promoting apprenticeships more. And like yourself, I've never met an apprentice yet that regrets it, kind of thing.
I agree.
And so many of them, like I used to, when I was on the tools, you go on a job, and the guy who owns the company now, they say, "Oh yeah, he started off as an apprentice." You think that's amazing, but it's not as amazing as you think, because you've got the good sort of background of it. You're getting used to the workplace, and you just get educated from there in the workplace.
So you're going again. We fix all businesses next year. So you're going to walk that talk anyway.
Look,
and be
we'll
working
be
with
up and
government.
running. We'll clean up in London. I don't have a problem with that at all. Again, because we're going to have apprentices, we're going to have only tradesmen that have done an apprenticeship, and people will always pay for quality, you know. And there's a big demand out there for skilled tradesmen.
Brilliant. Is there any other messages you'd like to get across to government, to business people, or to people thinking about what career they might do?
I would say that, you know, don't worry too much about the university route, and you know, there's life without a degree, and any sort of qualification in apprenticeship will be the same value, if not more, than any degree you can get out there. And you know, it's just a case of, you know, go for it kind of thing, and you'll be amazed.
So, Charlie, on a different note, we've been talking about business, talking about apprenticeships, but I know charity is a big part of your life. I know it's really important to you. What are you working on at the minute? What's happening?
Yeah, well, as you know, we've always been involved with the charities, and I think it's great to put something back into society, and it's certainly great for business. And at the moment, we're teaming up with Shooting Star Hospice, with my new company, We Fix, and we're going to be giving, like, I think it's £1 for every job that we do, straight to charity. And you know, that's going to sort of, you know, generate a nice feel within the company, because everybody likes to help out on charity if they're capable of doing it. And I just feel it's an opportunity. I don't want to miss it. I feel that, you know, it's very much on people's mind that if you're doing well in life, you know, to help others. And, you know, we've set up this deal with Shooting Star, and they're delighted. They're over the moon. They'll have their logos on their vans. We'll be driving around London with it. And, you know, it's a feel-good message, and you know, many people that will come on board with us, you know, will be part of that. They'll be contributing towards it. So I think it's again, I'm going to say it. I think, you know, it's a must to do, and I'm just surprised more companies don't do it, because it's absolutely a great business. Yeah. I'm not doing it just for business, but you know, I generally sort of feel for these charities, and they're struggling at the moment. And you know, you've got all these vehicles driving around London, and they could just sort of have some partnership with it.
And I know, I'm sure a lot of people will want to work with you on that. And if I can help, just let us know. But it reminded me as you were speaking there, because I can feel your passion of the Churchill saying that we make a living by what we get, but a life by what we give.
Yeah.
And giving back is important.
Exactly. And you know, I think it gives you that goodwill factor, but believe me, it's an amazing business move, because people want to use you because of that. They want to be part of it. You know, they don't want to feel that, you know, you're this greedy tradesman kind of thing. And you know, we're absolutely delighted with it. You know, the charity's a well recognised charity, but you know, all charities are struggling at the moment.
In 30 seconds, tell me about Shooting Star. Why that particular charity?
The reason I choose Shooting Star Hospice is because, you know, there are many people help many charities, but for me, I mean, I don't know that there's something more disastrous than, you know, your child, you know, sort of passing away with cancer.
Yeah. No.
So it's to help the bereavement procedure, and I just think it's something that, you know, often people have said to me, you know, there's different various charities, why have you gone for that? But for me, it's one that, you know, is just so.
Well, being a parent, you'd happily give your own life to instead of theirs.
Exactly, yeah. It's you know, it's just something that I feel, for me, it's the best charity that I've ever been involved with, and I'm delighted to be able to work with them.
Brilliant. Thanks again, Charlie. I really appreciate your time. If you've enjoyed this, Success is a System, or if you've got any questions for me, for Charlie, thinking about that strapline, thinking about no apprentices, no future, what kind of future would you want? What do you think about a university? What do you think about apprenticeships? Share it with us. If you've enjoyed today, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you again on another episode of Success is a System.